Impact Royal Flush Tour 2024. November 14th, FedEx Forum. A journey through the hits and timeless classics. The iconic band returns with special guests. Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening. Tickets on sale now at heart-music.com. Heart with Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening. Produced by AEG Presents.
I'm 10 feet ahead of you. Catch me as something you'll never do. I turn around and I level you. No motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal. This is incredible.
Take your fandom to the next level with the official Grizzlies app. Go all access and behind the scenes.
It's got to be heavy defense. That's where it starts for us.
Personalized to where you are and who you are. Get easy access to ticketing, the game day guide, and your own app customization right at your fingertips. Upgrade your experience and download the Grizzlies app today.
Don't Worry, Be Fluffy World Tour.
The minute you get into a brand new relationship, like magic, you know who really notices just how happy you are, guys? Other women, not your woman. Look how happy he is. I bet I can change that.
Friday, May 10th, FedEx Forum. Get your tickets now at fluffyguy.com. Don't miss a Memphis Don't Worry, Be Fluffy World Tour.
This is an actual good shoe.
Yeah, it looks like
this
a good
is a
shoe.
real good shoe.
What you think about him, KJ? She likes Cheetos.
Like Cheetos?
Yeah,
like
nice.
Cheetos.
You like Cheetos?
For kids, yeah, nice.
That's what I mean. For kids,
kids, yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I was still playing basketball, I played in brightly colored shoes. I wore pink shoes a lot of the time or purple shoes. Like, I like that. The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
It's time for Grizz Beat, a full court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
Hey everybody, welcome to Grizz Beat. Wow, great episode we have today for you in store. I got my Grizz Next Gen shirt on, and I'll tell you a little story about that in a minute. But first, let's get to our great illustrious panel we have here in studio at 191 Beale. Let's start off with the point guard extraordinaire for the Memphis Grizzlies in their original form, the great Brevin Knight of the Grizzlies broadcast TV broadcast crew. Hey, you got the King of Hearts on. You must be feeling pretty good today, right?
Yeah, I feel, why not? It's on a great day, you want something to brighten your spirits in some way.
Oh, yeah.
But I like that intro, though. Great. I like that. Great.
Well, hey, he's all swole all out, got back in the gym, looking all good and everything. Well, you might want to get back on the court. And also here, we'll talk about that too. Also here, we have another point guard extraordinaire from the Grambling Fighting Tigers of Grambling State University down in Louisiana by way of Washington, D.C. The great Michael Wallace, as my grandson likes to call him, the guru of Grind City Media. And, of course, you know, you got the Grizz gear on there, looking good, looking good.
Trying to represent. It's a big weekend coming up, man. Looking forward to it. As I told you before the show, man, BK was ranked, like in the top 20? I was ranked in the top 1,000. coming out the same year.
Coming out
93,
the same
right?
year. 93? So you were coming out of New Jersey, and you're coming out of, what,
DC.
Maryland or D.C.?
Sure, listen, at that point, though, if you was in 1,000, I was only 999. You're 93, just to let you know. It didn't change until 97. 93, though, we wasn't far from one another.
Well, you're not far from one another right now. You're right here together in studio. We're so glad about that. Let's get right into it. But first of all, key dates coming up. Of course, Mother's Day is this weekend, and also the NBA Draft Lottery in Chicago. The Grizzlies are sending a new representative this time. You know, Elliot Perry has done it the last couple of times, done a tremendous job, but Tayshaun Prince is going this time, who's in the Grizzlies front office, a former Grizzlies player. Michael Wallace, you think that'll help the Grizzlies with a little luck since they had going in with number 7?
Hey, last 2 times they went, they ended up with a top 4 pick, right? So the luck has been fine. You know what I mean? So hopefully Tayshaun can get him there and do the same thing, man. Maybe you can jump up a little bit.
Maybe so. You had a chance to play against Tayshaun, didn't you, brother?
Yes, I played against him, and the thing with Tay is he's almost the same in the boardroom, I would say, in the front office as he was on the floor, which is he's never going to be a guy that stands out because of his voice. He's not going to be very boisterous with who he is. But
he can be very strategic.
Very strategic, and when he does talk, people tend to listen very much because they know that when he's something that needs to be said, it will be said. And he has that same demeanor now. And so it's nice to have him make the transition to give the front office a basketball mind and aspect of things that goes on.
All right, let's take a look at some more of those key dates coming up. And then we got the pre-draft combine coming up right away after the draft lottery. Of course, that'll be in Chicago. And Brett, did you get a chance to do the combine?
No, because the thing was back then, if you were a projected lottery pick, you didn't have to go to Chicago. And I just saw that now the rules have changed to where everyone, if you're going to be drafted, everyone has to go through the process. So we didn't even have to go in terms of for the interview process. So I know that's kind of went from didn't have to go at all to I think you had to go and at least do some of the interviews or do some of the measurements things.
Right.
But you didn't have to play.
Didn't have to do it.
But now I think
that's
they have to
because
go
you were so highly regarded as an athlete. Of course, Michael and me, we had the privilege of watching it on television. But that's the way that goes. And then, of course, the June draft is going to be split over 2 days this year, June 26th and 27th, first round and second round. And you like that idea, Brevin? We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. I like it because it gives us a chance to breathe. And I think for so long we almost made it as if the second round was less than. And really all it is second round is because everybody can't be first round. That's the only thing it is. And so I think it just gives those guys in those slots their time, their recognition, and also being on their night, then it will all be about them, not still trying to run around and worry about the first round people.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, of course, somebody that was in the first round, though, even though you were saying that you were pick number 999, you were up there. You were, just outside the lottery. Brevin, you were pick number 16 in the 1997 NBA draft. Look at him there. Whoa.
Look at that.
Straight out of that Carmelo Anthony commercial.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. They sent me a Hugo Ball. You'll like this, Wallace, because you're an East Coast guy. And I put it on, and I was like, bro, this is too tight, yo. We don't wear our
we were still baggy then.
Still baggy. So you know what that is? That's a Macy's special right there. It wasn't.
Hey, you know what? It looks like it.
There wasn't no opening that up and showing the inside or nothing.
Oh, it wasn't a coordinate. You got the coordinate.
No, I had
that.
I coordinated as best I could. In the side, you see, my jacket is almost as long. It's almost to my knees the way we wear shorts.
So what was that like? Getting your name called?
This is cool. I don't think I gotta take this picture. I never even saw this in that way.
When you look at that board, man, like that was the Tim Duncan draft, right?
That was fun for me because I ended his college career.
Oh yeah, in
Stanford.
So we beat them in the second round of the tournament. But then we were roommates in the summer for 22 and under. So we that was cool. I mean, a lot of these names are guys that, Tim Thomas, I've known him forever from back in Jersey. Tracy McGrady, see him up there. Chauncey Billups and Antonio Daniels. I was mad as heck that when I got drafted 16th, so I'm like, well, who in the heck number one? I didn't even know who Antonio Daniels was when he got drafted. And I was like, man, who is out of Bowling Green? Turned out, I found out very quickly who he was. Because he was a very good, very excellent point guard. Very good on the TV now with the Pelicans TV.
A lot of Memphis Tigers fans see that D. Fortson. Danny Fortson came from Cincinnati.
From Cincinnati, enforcer.
He had I don't want to say the goon like from hockey, but he was that kind of player in the NBA.
He would have got down with Zebo just fine. They would have enjoyed one another. Maurice Taylor up there from Michigan.
Tractor trailer.
Tractor trailer.
No, the other Maurice Taylor. That's Maurice. This is more.
Who was that went right before you though?
Kelvin Cato went to Portland. He played at big fella. He's about 6'10", 6'11", long arms. Used to block shots. Was really. You know what? He was also good handling the basketball. You know, sometimes I tell people a lot of times it's not. You have to be able to deal with the entire aspect of being a pro,
right?
To be able to stay a pro for extended years. And for him, it wasn't about the talent as much. I just think never found the right fit for him. But talent is he was good. But I was glad I got passed on that Maurice Taylor pick at 14 because the Clippers had talked about going there, and I was like, bro, I don't.
You ain't want to go there?
No, I told my agent discourage that as much as I don't care if we drop down to Cleveland. That's fine with me. I want to go to Cleveland.
Man, if we throw that picture back up real quick, not the draft board. and you go back and redraft that draft, like Brevin is a top 10 guy in there. When you go back and think about it. So, you know, when you look at the board, Tim Duncan obviously stays where he is. Chauncey Billups, it took a while for him to find where he was going to get to.
Mercer pan out. Ron Mercer.
Mercer didn't pan out. Tim Thomas did, but it took a while.
Yes.
Like he was the same player 3 years into his NBA career as he was as a sophomore in high school.
Yes.
Like he was the same dude, right?
He was
same look and everything.
He was good.
But then obviously Tracy McGrady would be 2 in that situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Donald Foyle, he was a good role.
Donald Foyle.
Yeah. But
Olivier St. Jean.
Yeah, right.
You remember that? You know that he had changed his name.
To what?
To
Mr. Irrelevant?
No,
I don't remember.
In Sacramento. Maybe played. God, dog.
Man, we have to look that one up.
Yes, yeah.
I remember Austin Crozier. I remember him. Derek
Austin
Anderson.
he was good.
And went to the
and then
Orlando,
my boy
right?
DA got drafted. So me and DA went to Cleveland together.
Yeah.
And then they also, second round, Cedric Henderson. From here, they drafted him.
That's what I was going to say. Little known fact, because I was working at Action News 5 at the time, and of course, you know, I'm old head, and you were young whippersnapper up there wearing your big baggy clothes on set. But we went to the draft because of Cedric Henderson.
Yes.
And when you Big Z's, Adrunas Ilgauskas, and Cedric Henderson went to the NBA Rookie All-Star game in New York. We went to that game. And we all got to see there and cover you. Little did I know that Brevin Knight would be on my same NBA, my favorite NBA team.
How about
the last story, I'm wearing this shirt right here. I was going to, can we throw that graphic up of Brevin in the Grizzlies uniform again? He had number 22 there. I had that as a T-shirt, and I put it on. And I was about to walk out the door, and I looked, and I got a rip right under my That thing is, 22, 24 years old now, but I've kept it as pristine as I could. But I would have worn that shirt today in your honor. But
man, those were the we had some fun with those. It was a struggle, but it was nice to be on the front end of it all. That's what was.
Yes,
that's what
and
was,
you were.
Yeah.
That's what was nice about it.
And we were all fans of you. Hey, let's.
No, look at it right there. Give him his props, man. Selected 16th overall by Cleveland in the first round, 97 draft. Played for 9. I lost count. It could be 12, but was it 9? Was it 12 teams in 9 years?
No, man.
Or
9 teams in 12 years. 9 teams in 12 years, and it was 4 teams in 1 year.
In 1 year, yeah. And then 1997, 98 NBA All-Rookie team. Led the NBA as a rookie in steals, man. Like. This dude placed in the Defensive Player of the Year voting shares as a rookie coming into the league, man.
And what are you, like 5'11"?
Bro, I didn't know it.
You didn't know it until later?
No, I know when I found out. A friend of mine sent me a text message, and he went through it because Wembanyama was in the running for it. He went back and he wanted to see how many other rookies were ever really in the running of it. He was like, bro, look at this, yo. And he said it was like, I was number 11th in defensive rating for rookie for defensive player of the year. So
look
cool,
at that, man.
We know as you get older in this game, you hang around, like you start to get a little bit more of these little tidbits of records and things. And what I didn't realize is they got a record for everything. And so to see your name in certain instances, it's always cool.
Yeah, check out the Elias for you. We got time to get to let's run through here real quickly. We got, of course, Brevin was a point guard, but now, the Grizz. We talked about point guards last week. The Grizzlies now are in the shooting guard category. They need to find out what the best thing is. And here's our question of the week. What are the Grizzlies' biggest needs at the shooting guard, the two-guard position this offseason? Michael Wallace, we'll start with you. What is it that you say?
Well, you see the list right there. And this is not a depth chart. It's just the sort of the pecking order of where these guys line up at the 2. Desmond, obviously Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, John Conchar, right? Those are all, I categorize them as shooting guards.
And they're all under contract.
And they're all under contract with the exception of Luke Kennard. In terms, there's a player option. There's a team option on Luke Kennard to come back. So we'll see going into the offseason what that means for him as we get closer towards June. But to me, the thing that they need to define is after Desmond Bane, who is going to be that next guy to eat up those shooting guard minutes? Because now you have sort of a dichotomy. You have Marcus Smart right there, and then I think you got to look over and see, is Vince Williams ready to maybe go 2-3? Now, he'll be in the small forwards that we get to, but for this case, as shooting guard, we need to get Desmond through a season healthy and get him back to that dominant level that he's shown potential to have the last couple of years.
Brevin?
Well, I think the biggest thing is what Mike just said there is the defining of who is the backup 2 guard. Because you almost say, well, is Marcus Smart your backup point guard also in that. And so depending on who that is in that role, then I think they'll tailor the rest of it around. But, yeah, I mean, Desmond Bane is going to be highly critical to the success of this team moving forward. And a lot of that is because the rest of those other teams that were young are getting a lot of experience this season. And the Grizzlies missed out on another year of growing because of those injuries. So it's going to be very important for him to be the catalyst. And then the guys behind him, whoever it may be, it will be in unison with the rest of the guys on the floor that really makes him effective. Desmond, in and of himself, no matter who he's on the floor with, will be a difference maker.
You got, in my opinion, you got two guys that can be 2, 3, 4. Even with Vince Williams could play the 4, a small ball 4. And, of course, Marcus Smart's already done that and can play the 2 and play the 1. Vince had to try his hand at the 1 after Marcus Smart got hurt. And there were no other point guards, with Jai out, and there was no other point guards on the floor. So you have a lot of guys that had shown that they can play the position. But, when Marcus Smart, they said, well, he was a point guard with Jai out, and the Grizzlies were 1-9. Yeah, they were 1-9, but there was nobody else on the team. Everybody kept dropping like flies as that whole period went along. So it's really hard to say. And Conchar is like your break glass in case of emergency guy. You can plug and play him pretty much anywhere.
And that's the thing. Because of the way the last couple of seasons has played out, no one has had a defined role where they can really show what they're special in. Like, just because, like, what I think we saw this year is that I'm not so convinced that Marcus Smart needs to be a point guard, right? I'm also not going to put him physically at small forward, power forward. Physically, at this stage of his career, I'm not sure if he can hold up for that.
Okay.
Now, is he going to be erratic enough? I know he can defend 2 guards, but can he be more of a consistent offensive player at 2? So you got to define what he is. You said Vince Williams Jr. too. He's played the 1, 2, and the 3, and some at the 4. That's not necessarily what he's going to be asked to do if you're healthy. Right. So where can you slot him in where he can say, I know I'm going to get these minutes at this assignment tonight, so let me focus on this, and still be able to do some other things, but you got to give these guys a chance to specialize in what they feel most comfortable at.
Well, I think the other thing is why they talk a lot about positionless basketball with this team. Yeah. Is because you can go down the list and really say, well, who is really the other true 2 on this team in terms of what you would encompass being a 2 guard. And after Dez, then it becomes a lot of other, well, could do. And I think that's why offensively, and the mindset that they use is one in which don't worry about what that number is. It is just positions on the floor. It is when you handle the basketball, what that play call looks like, how they play defense. In terms of those positions, there may be numbers, but in terms of what the historical thought process is of the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, that is something that is used very sparingly in today. And a lot of it is because so many guys don't have a true position that they are. Right. Because we've used that word for so long that it's become that way.
Yep.
Well, we'll see how the Grizzlies work that out. That they'll have to bring out the Rubik's Cube or something other to try to figure all that. We got to figure out a few things. That's why we're going to go into the break right now. When we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the NBA, and there's some really good playoffs going on right now, and there's a big surprise in the West. We'll talk about that when we come back on Grizz Beat.
This week, we're looking at our favorite black sitcoms. Mike, what do you got on your list?
It starts off with A Different World, the show that we're talking about.
I don't know. When's the last time you watched A Different World? Find it, watch it with the family. It is a phenomenal show, still to this day.
Get all of your HBCU sports and culture news by tuning in to HBCU Huddle with CJ Hurt and Mike Wallace. New episodes drop every Thursday on grindcitymedia.com, YouTube, and Spotify.
Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour.
I mean, Chuck E. Cheese is rough. I don't know if you've been there in a while. They look like they're trying to go to business and they can't.
All new material.
They filed for bankruptcy and they're still open. They called Blockbuster and they're like, how do you get out? We want out.
Nate Bargatze. Friday, May 31st, FedEx Forum. Tickets available at FedEx Forum box office or Ticketmaster.com. Produced by Outback Presents. Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour.
I will take High School Musical with my 5th and final pick because it is a sports movie, you do got to get your head in the game. I love High School Musical. I love musicals. Sports and musicals can coexist in this beautiful world. What a beautiful, beautiful movie. Even though High School Musical 1 is not even the best of the High School Musicals.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Don't Worry, Be Fluffy World Tour.
The minute you get into a brand new relationship, like magic. You know who really notices just how happy you are, guys? Other women, not your woman. Look how happy he is. I bet I can change that.
Friday, May 10th, FedEx Forum. Get your tickets now at fluffyguy.com. Don't miss a Memphis Don't Worry, Be Fluffy World Tour.
Set your sights on next season with the 2024-2025 Grizzlies MVP season ticket membership. See John, Jaren, Dez, and all your favorite Grizzlies host the NBA's biggest stars with access to the best seat locations and prices. Plus, receive exclusive MVP benefits, discounts, and invites to special events. For more information, this is what you do. Just call 901-888-HOOP. You know that number, 901-888-HOOP, or visit grizzlies.com/season tickets.
Grizz Beat is back. Welcome back. We're here today joined by 12-year NBA point guard veteran Brevin Knight, Grizzlies broadcast extraordinaire Brevin Knight, alongside Jarvis, Greer, and myself. And at this point of the show, we swing to the NBA's top storylines. And there are no bigger storylines than what's going on right now in the NBA playoffs as we look at where things stand heading into tonight's single game right there. Fellas, when you look at that board right now, Oklahoma City's up 1-0. Minnesota's up 2-0. Boston obviously took care of business last night over Cleveland, and the Knicks and the Pacers, the game tonight, the Knicks are up 1-0. Which one of those series right now is the most intriguing to you, and why? We'll start with Jarvis.
Oh, wow. The most intriguing to me, well, the most eye-popping is Minnesota just totally going in and punking Denver at Denver. And that just, it's like, okay, well, Minnesota's really good, but you'd think maybe they could still want it. No, they come out of there 2-0, heading back to Target Center in Minneapolis. That one just blows me away. That Knicks game, the Knicks series, I think that's going to be a good series. I think, if everybody comes back healthy in that, I think it'll be good. But the one that just blows me away is just what Minnesota's doing. I can't get past that in any other series.
Yeah, I agree with the Minnesota. The other one for me is OKC in Dallas, and watching the way that OKC is able to defend Luka and Kyrie with multiple defenders. And the thing about both of those teams, OKC and Minnesota, talk about is how quickly they have been able to win under pressure but still being young and playing their brand of basketball. And so it's been fun to watch those two. I think the Boston-Cleveland is going to be what it is. Cleveland just doesn't have enough on the offensive end. And the Knicks-Pacers can be really good. If Halliburton shows up a little bit,
yeah, right.
It could be an interesting series.
This is the thing to me, though, guys, is that when I look at that Knicks-Pacers series, it gives, just because of the intensity in the Garden in Game 1, it gave me flashbacks to the 90s.
Yes.
You know what I mean? With Reggie Miller and Chris Childs and those Knicks teams going back and forth at it.
Those two
they
teams.
definitely have a history. I do think that series is more evenly matched than people might give it credit for. Indiana, like, that's a toss-up because the Knicks are banged up, man. They're going to be without Mitchell Robinson now.
Yeah, that's
They're
what I said about health, because he's out, right?
Yeah, he's out. He's out now, and they're already obviously without two of their front court players in Bogdanovich and Randall, right? So they're missing. At some point, that's going to catch up to them. But Brunson is elevated himself into a top-notch player. But obviously, I don't think that, I want to circle back around one more time. Are we ready to say that Minnesota-Denver series is over?
I'm not saying that it's over, but I think that it's a series that Minnesota will have to allow Denver to win the series. I just don't think Denver is a better basketball team than Minnesota. They struggle with them all regular season. Minnesota has what so many teams don't have, which is completeness on the offensive and defensive end, length and athleticism. Like, when you put all of that together, it is very hard to beat a team. And then you insert someone like Mike Conley to orchestrate and run it all.
Yeah.
They literally would have to allow Denver to beat them because I think that they're better at too many positions and from starters to bench.
Yes,
it is.
That's
I think
the main thing for me.
They're just a better. It's not a good matchup. For the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, I was going to say that you talked about the length. Like all those guys are long. And then they stuck to their guns with the two big man thing, and it worked out. Kudos to them for that. But everybody else, Naz Reid and all those guys, they're coming off the bench, and they're long and tall and can run and jump, but they got more players, which means they have a couple of big money guys, but they got a lot of guys that are still young, and they just have more of them. Yeah. Denver, once you get past their starting lineup. If somebody has a bad night in the starting lineup, a.k.a. Jamal Murray or whatever, they could be toast, and Minnesota can expose it.
Yeah, when you look back at that graphic right there, when you see where the playoffs are right now, with the exception of Boston and Denver, this is a total new guard, right?
Yes.
A new guard of teams here. The league is going to definitely be in good hands. And speaking of that old guard.
I'm for it. I'm down with that.
And speaking of that old guard, as we said last week, this is the first playoff since 2005 that has not featured LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. And speaking of Kevin Durant, this is the 10-year anniversary of him getting the MVP award, which will be awarded tonight. The MVP gets announced tonight. 10 years ago, Kevin Durant, going into Mother's Day weekend, had this fantastic tribute to his mom after winning the MVP award.
And last, my mom. I don't think you know what you did. When something good happens to you, I don't know about you guys, but I tend to look back to what brought me here. And you wake me up in the middle of the night in the summer times, making me run up a hill, making me do push-ups, screaming at me from the sideline of my games at 8 or 9 years old. We wasn't supposed to be here. You made us believe. You kept us off the street. Put clothes on our backs, food on the table. You the real MVP.
I needed a second, man. Usually
we have onions. Somebody cutting onions in here, right?
Usually we have the headphones off by now, right? But we had to ride that one all the way through to the end. I remember being in that moment, watching that speech when he gave it, and knowing of Kevin Durant, he grew up in Seat Pleasant, Maryland. I know what that area is, being a DC native. His mother worked for the Postal Service. I have an uncle who worked in the Postal Service where she worked at. And her being a single mother, raising him the way she did in an area where they did, I felt that, right? I felt that. And the MVP, you're the real MVP. I don't know who didn't get choked up at that, Brevin. When you saw that, man, what came to your mind?
A moment of vulnerability.
Yeah.
A lot of times these guys are in pressure situations. We watch them handle it. Maybe not handle things right, but they always bounce back, and you always see them in a certain way of being bigger than. I think those are type moments that we start to see a vulnerable side, is the human side that I always tell people we're no different. We just have a skill that is a little bit better than the next person, meaning you got people that are able to ascend to be pros. But it was touching, and it's a message that so many people in his position have, being that your mom is the one that's continued to be there to support you, that has sacrificed so much. And it's nice that he's able to share that moment with her. She was able to be there to share in it and hear it from him.
Yeah, that's something. My mom passed 2 years ago, and this is before I was able. I was invited by Michael Wallace to do this show, and I think she would be proud of me. To be able to do this after retirement. I was at work when Kevin, for most of my life, I worked 43 years at Channel 5, and it's like I was there. I wasn't there, but I was recording that speech, and everybody, when it came on in the newsroom, we just all just stopped and watched. And and it makes you reflect on your how you came up and who was in your corner. And my mother was in my corner. My dad passed when I was going into high school. But she was there, the whole time to see all of it through. And everybody's got a mom, and everybody's mom. No matter what you thought of your mother then, when you think of it now, wow, she actually knew what she was doing. And I think that really that really was something that set apart. And, shout out to Kevin Durant on that day for speaking truth.
Yes, and happy early Mother's Day to all the mothers and all the grandmothers and all the mother figures who have been in all of our lives and all of your lives as well, too. This weekend, obviously, Sunday is Mother's Day. Sunday is also the NBA Draft Lottery. But also tonight is the night where the NBA will announce who won this year's MVP, and the finalists are Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and defending Finals MVP, Nikola Jokic, because Joel Embiid won the regular season MVP last year. I'm going to give each one of you guys a shot to take and defend. Well, who would you make the case for out of those three? And I'll start with Jarvis. I'll give you the first pick.
Well, I'm looking at that. I don't want to say SGA because we got a rivalry with them that's budding and growing. And I think we're going to be butting heads with that Student Government Association over there, about 470 miles from here. But, and Jokic is Jokic. He is – his regular season was, how can you compare it to anybody else with all the triple-doubles that he puts up? And he does, never looks like he's in a hurry, never gets in a rush. He's got a left-hand flip, a right-hand flip, and, makes a long pass and never looks like he's going to break a sweat. And Luka, Luka had struggled a little bit here and there, but has come on strong to help them get into the postseason. I'm just thinking who I think they'll give it to. I'm thinking they'll give it to Nikola Jokic, but I'm thinking that he got his team to the top spot in the West. SGA might be the most deserving. That's what I'll say.
Okay, all right. He went all over the place.
Yeah,
I said defend one.
Exactly.
I said defend one.
I was going to let him get away.
Like,
when you're in the studio with the OG, you let the OG
you let him do his thing. Yeah.
Don't worry about what the question was. You go ahead, rock how you want to rock.
OG-HIP. Old guard has his privilege.
There you go.
Let it go. But I'm going to stay in the young man's lane. And I'm going to go with SGA. And number one, because they did finish number one in the Western Conference. He is in the top three. I think he's number 2 in scoring in the NBA this year. The assist numbers were there. He's a driving engine, not just on the offensive end, because defensively, I think he always averaged 2 steals a game this year. And so put that all together with the team that they had, they've continued to win. And then even more, just to put added on top of it, what they've done to start this playoffs with the run that they're on, and to win that first game in a dominating fashion. I know that didn't go into it because the vote it was already in. But just to solidify why I thought he was that at the end of the season by what he's doing in the playoffs, I'm going to go with SGA.
Those are all 3 great candidates, right? And I can't, whoever wins, it's almost like, you could throw a dart at a board with all 3 of them, wherever it lands, I'm cool with. Like, I don't think anyone can say, he was robbed or she was, or whichever one was robbed. But I'm going to go Luke because the way the vote is tallied in the final week of the regular season, that's when you have to submit it. So this doesn't take into account anything that we've seen in the playoffs so far. At the end of the regular season, I felt strongest about Luka Doncic because that team has shifted so many different times over the last season and a half that he's been there. And he's been the constant. When Kyrie wasn't right or injured, Luka was there. When they made the big trades to bring in all of these new guys midway through the season, Luka was there. And then they were one of the best performing teams over the second half of the season post-trade. And they were on the come. They were on the come from that standpoint. I think it's Luka's time. I like SGA. I do think that he's valuable. I think they're more of a system with him being the top piece of the system, whereas I think Luka is the system.
Yeah.
You can say the same thing about Jokic, too. But I do think Jokic has a lot more proven commodities around him, whereas Dallas is a little more erratic without Luka.
I would say Luka's the constant.
Luka's all of them, all 3 of them, because Shai gets to the free throw line anytime he wants now. He's got hardened skills when it comes to that. And then when you look over at Jokic, like, that team would not be anywhere near it is. I mean, they might be a play-in team without him, but man.
Well, I just want to jump on that Luka thing. Luka's the content on Dallas. He's the one that's been there. The owner, Mark Cuban, who I really like, has been almost like George Steinbrenner. Well, we'll try this at owner. We'll try that at owner.
That's what I'm saying.
Change it all around. But Luka's the one that's been there.
Nah, Luka's definitely been there, man. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I won't be surprised at whatever comes out during the pregame tonight before tonight's it's the Knicks and Pacers game tonight as they go for game 2 there. And our last part, we'll get to this. One of the things that's interesting about this playoff, this postseason, is that of the top 10 payrolls in the NBA, the top 10 salary strapped teams
Here
in
it
the
is.
NBA. 8 of them have already been eliminated. So this isn't a money ball. I mean, I guess this is a money ball league, but when you talk about Golden State, the Clippers, all of these guys with these exorbitant payrolls and the second apron and all of those things, only 2 teams, Boston and Denver, are left with these high payrolls. Is paying all of these guys triple maxes and all that, is that the way to construct the championship contender, BK?
Well, the thing is this, if you look on that list, a lot of those are your older basketball teams also, because a lot of those being established franchises are always in win now moments. There isn't, those franchises, those fan bases aren't fine or cool with rebuilding. Well, let's see what happens. And so they have to continue to figure out how to win now. And winning now means paying. Just the nature of the game, and it's just, that's what I always say. It's nice to see with these younger teams who have drafted well, who have made a couple of moves. They found a young star. They put some things around, and they've been able to have a level of success that is the way that you'll continue to see it go. The mix and match of some old, some young. But to just say that you're going to pay for a championship is no longer, I think, the most viable way to get a championship.
Yeah, when you look at Phoenix, I want to set you up with this one, Jarvis.
Okay.
When you look at a team like Phoenix, Bradley Beal is going into $50-something million over the next 3 years, right? Kevin Durant 2 more years at a high number, and then Devin Booker. How can that team get back to? And they got bounced in the first round. Didn't even win a playoff.
They didn't even win a game,
right?
No,
you look at the Lakers. I mean, they bounced in the first round with that high payroll. Why is that? What can teams in that situation do to sort of reset their clock a little bit?
They can't, unless they got some fools out there or some other general managers. They really can't do much because they don't have any draft. They don't have any draft capital either.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you look at the Grizzlies, which is what we do here on this program, they're starting to enter into that next apron of paying a lot of money to guys, but they're on the low end as far as age. So their guys, they got to pay them, but their guys are young enough to win. And that's what, as Brevin was saying, when Steph Curry and all those guys were 25 years old, 26 years old, they signed these big contracts. They're still on the come up, which is where we hope that the Grizzlies are still growing. There'll be a time when the Grizzlies have an inflated payroll because you'll have guys at the back end, but their skill level may drop a little bit because they're 32, 33 years old. And that's that's something that's a reality of life, and it's a reality in the NBA. But it is something when you put up that graphic that's quite alarming to see. Like, there's only 2 teams left, and I'm surprised that Boston is one of them that's not up in that top tier of.
No, they are. They are.
Okay.
Boston and Denver.
In there. Yeah, that's
Boston
right.
and Denver are the 2 teams that have a high payroll.
Yeah, they're the only
that
2
are still
that
in.
Are still going.
Yeah, I mean, Boston has just given out the highest contract in Jaylen Brown. He just the $300 million. He was the first NBA player to cross that $300 million.
And unless they figure that they can't go any farther than they've gone with that team, they'll still be there. I still say they can run a bit.
Right, and those are teams that's still in the mode of we're going to win now. But Denver, you think about Denver has done it, and these are still their guys.
Yes.
Like they made a trade. Yes, they got Gordon. Aaron Gordon came in, but outside of that, the rest of these guys have been their guys.
And this come up through their organization.
Exactly. This is just the point that they are in that they had to keep paying them, but that has paid off for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there are reasons, and so just I'm going to just go pick him, and we're going to play, but don't really fully think out the entire team. I think it is making some teams rethink the direction they'll go in.
And it also means that, hey, we're ready for the next guard, because the next guard is the younger guys are ready to take over.
Now in defense of some of these teams, if we can go to that graphic one more time before we go to break, when you look at these teams right now, we talked about Golden State has already won their titles, right? So this is just the aftermath of already having paid for their championship core, right?
And they're in that time of they had to start to think of what's next.
Where are we going now?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they've been there.
So
this is
the build due for what they've already done, right? The Clippers, they're spinning and spinning and spinning, hadn't won anything. So are the Phoenix Suns. Boston, I'm going to give them a chance, right? If they win it this year, it's worth it, right?
Right.
Milwaukee got their title. Denver got their title. Miami got to the finals a couple of times, especially since the pandemic. The Lakers got their title, and now you look at New Orleans and Philly. So half of those teams are basically spending money and not even getting to the conference finals, let alone the NBA finals. So we'll see where it goes from there. Before we go to break, Jamal Murray was fined $100,000 for throwing an object onto the floor, a heating pad onto the floor, and also some of his antics in that blowout loss in Game 2 in Denver. BK, you've been the only one among us who's ever been able to afford $100,000 fine.
To me,
so when you think about that, man, did his actions warrant that kind of fine? And when you get fined to that degree, how much does that send a message to an NBA player?
And was it enough?
I thought he should have been suspended.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 100,000, I mean, he's 100,000. He gonna feel that. That's fine. And the reason why I say it is because it wasn't one action.
Yeah.
There's two actions.
Yeah.
He threw the towel at Mark. That was the first one. They scurried that one away. Now he threw the heating pad at him. The only thing that messed up was he missed him and it went onto the floor.
Yeah.
Now when it went onto the floor, now you bring into play
you can
player
injure
injuries. Now you get one player that kicks it, another guy comes close to stepping on it. So I thought that I thought he got. You never like to see it happen, but there has to be some level of accountability for your action. And it's like, well, I don't want to do this, but well, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Like you feel what I'm saying? Like you got so frustrated in the game because they were defending you the way that you weren't making shots. That then you go and act in that way. Nah, I mean you can't just. So the 100,000 is like, shoot. When they called, it was like, bro, we give you 100,000. I'm like, hey, where we got to send the check to? Let's go play this game.
Jarvis, did he get away with one there?
I thought he got away with
Should it have been a suspension? And if you suspend him, do you think Joe Dumars in the league said, okay, if we keep Jamal Murray out of this game, this series is basically a wrap?
They're taking that into consideration because they always do. They want the eyeballs of television. They got a big, huge contract and all that, that they have to worry about, that you want your stars to play in games. But as Brevin said, it wasn't just one act, it was two. The second act was throwing the heating pad. The first act was bad. I remember Tony Allen who's going to have his jersey retired by the Grizzlies this coming season. I think it was a series against Oklahoma City, sitting on the bench, and he was yelling at somebody or whatever, and he had his towel rolled up, and he was going, and the towel flipped out from inside the towel and went on the court. And I forget, did he get, he got some sort of fine? He didn't get suspended, but that was just, it was a one-off, because I don't think, I think it was one of those kind of deals. But no, those were acts on purpose by Jamal Murray, and I agree with I think he could have and probably should have been suspended, and that would send a message to anybody and everybody in the league. No, you do not do that.
Well, you guys pointed to two incidents, and then there was an alleged third where he did the Rudy Gobert gesture, the money sign towards, apparently towards an official. So that got Rudy Gobert hit big time with a fine.
Yes.
And then the last player to throw something on the floor got suspended. You know what I mean, when it comes to that too. So he avoided both. I do think the league took into consideration that this series is on the brink right now, and you don't want to end it by removing a guy from that situation.
Yeah, but the thing is, the league wouldn't remove. He removed himself.
True. Good point.
Like, you see what I'm saying?
That
wouldn't have been like if you went like you. That was like. This was, you went too far with that, bro. You were intentionally trying to throw something at the ref, bro. And you missed them and it went on the floor. You missed them the first time. The second time you threw something else. Like that's my only thing. And
you're asking to get kicked out.
Right,
you're
I'm saying the same thing. I don't want to see him out because I want to see Minnesota beat them with everybody. Because I don't want to hear nobody say the excuse of well they didn't have. No, I want to watch them continue to beat them with who they. But bro, you can't just let somebody.
That's the whole Draymond Green thing. You suspend yourself. You keep after. If you keep that, and they tell you no.
That was it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Minnesota, we're going to see this Minnesota team see if they can continue this process and get to the Western Conference Finals. They're up 2-0 on Denver going into Game 3. We had a chance to see the Memphis Grizzlies go against this same Minnesota team. Well, sort of the same team. They've got a couple different pieces, and we'll show you our playoff playback when we get back to Grizz Beat.
Heart Royal Flush Tour 2024. November 14th, FedEx Forum. A journey through the hits and timeless classics. The iconic band returns with special guests. Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening. Tickets on sale now at heart-music.com. Heart with Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening. Produced by AEG Presents.
I'm 10 feet ahead of you. Catch me in something you'll never do. I turn around and I level you. No motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal. This is incredible.
Take your fandom to the next level with the official Grizzlies app. Go all access and behind the scenes.
It's got to be heavy defense. That's where it starts for us.
Personalized to where you are and who you are. Get easy access to ticketing, the game day guide, and your own app customization right at your fingertips. Upgrade your experience and download the Grizzlies app today.
Don't Worry, Be Fluffy World Tour.
The minute you get into a brand new relationship, like magic. You know who really notices just how happy you are, guys? Other women, not your woman. Look how happy he is. I bet I can change that.
Friday, May 10th, FedEx Forum. Get your tickets now at fluffyguy.com. Don't miss a Memphis Don't Worry, Be Fluffy World Tour.
This is an actual good shoe.
Yeah, it looks like
this
a good
is a
shoe.
real good shoe.
What you think about him, KJ? She likes Cheetos.
Like Cheetos?
Yeah,
You like
nice.
Cheetos?
You like Cheetos?
For
kids, yeah.
That's what I mean. For kids,
For kids, yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I was still playing basketball, I played in brightly colored shoes. I wore pink shoes a lot of the time or purple shoes. Like, I like that. The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Hey fam, are you a true-born entertainer and a die-hard Grizz fan? Whether you're 7 or 70, have we got a spot for you? Yeah, it's on Grizzlies live entertainment teams. Auditions for our Grizzlies grannies and grandpas? I may do that. I don't know. Blue Bunch, Grizz Girls, Grizz Line, Kings of the Court, and Claw Crew. They all take place this summer, June through August. Don't miss your opportunity to be a part of a world-class NBA entertainment team. For more information on pre-audition classes, to get a leg up on the competition and to pre-register, this is what you do. You visit grizzlies.com/audition. That's grizzlies.com/auditions. Yeah, Brevin, you gonna be Grizzlies, grannies, and grandpa? You can jump out there and do one. Have you a grandpa yet?
No, I'm not. Don't wish that on. Listen.
Likewise, yeah.
Make sure if I haven't got any messages that I'm so no, not yet. I'm not grandpa yet, but I'm gonna tell you that is one of my more that is my most enjoyable time is seeing our grannies and grandpas.
Oh, when they jump out there, yeah.
Oh, it's the best. It's the one time when I am locked in on what's happening. I don't go down to the phone, see what's happening. It's literally they coming out. I want to see what they got going on.
Oh, yeah, they always have a good show planned.
Jarvis, you got to, hey, what about you? What about you?
I
Which
talked
one
to
of
my
those teams
wife
you auditioning for?
I talked to my wife about it. She said, "No, fool, you go out there, old man." she don't want anything to do with that has grandma on it. She just, she's Gigi to our grandkids.
I got you.
So what did they change it to
Why can't you do it?
Why can't I do it?
You can do it, man. You still got the moves.
I might make a special appearance.
There you go. Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
That'd be pretty good. Maybe we can get St. Jude involved.
I can't qualify for the grannies yet, man, with grandpas yet, but I'll do the drum line.
You do drum line?
I get on the drum line.
I thought you do the Kings of the Court. I thought you might do Kings of the Court, Joe.
Oh, nah, man. My jumping days are old, even off a trampoline.
It's not the
it ain't
jump.
getting up there. It's coming down.
It's the landing. There you go. Well, I'll tell you, one thing that was a great time to be a Grizzlies fan here at 191 Beale Street, also known as FedEx Forum, the 2022 playoffs. You guys remember that when the Grizzlies took on the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's right. The growl towels were in full effect. The place is sold out. Everybody's rocking. We're going to go back to the Game 5 where the Grizzlies were down. And I got those Grizz uniforms. I love those. Those are my favorite. Brandon Clark and everybody bringing the Grizzlies back. And it was just such a tremendous atmosphere in the building. Greg, Brevin, as a broadcaster, what was that like for you calling that game in the forum there?
Man, that's the chills that you get for Grizzlies playoff basketball is like nothing else.
Oh, my God.
I look at here. Look at this. You remember?
Oh, that's right.
Boy, it still makes you raise up in your seat when you see it. And the thing that you did, like, this is in an NBA playoff game.
Right here.
And a comeback situation, and this here, the game winner with Jamal Murray. I think for me it is.
Against a great defender in Jared Vanderbilt.
Listen, Jared Vanderbilt was a big miss for the Los Angeles Lakers and could have helped them a lot in their run this season. But just to have the opportunity to feel what we have started to become accustomed to from the original core four in terms of what playoff atmospheres were going to be like, and then now to what this next gen was going to be like, and then the atmosphere still being there. And the other thing was just, it was who they were playing against. It was a different type rivalry than our Clippers, Lakers, Clippers, Spurs, OKC. Those are just physical knockdown brawls. This was the evolution of the game
Of the
and what
game,
it was
yeah.
going to look like moving
Speed,
forward.
athleticism.
And these two teams were going to be the two teams. We said it then, and you look forward now. You think that the Grizzlies come back and will be there, but the Timberwolves are right where we thought they were going to be moving forward.
Yeah,
And when you look back at that series, and Brevin, you mentioned it during the break, the Timberwolves blew a couple of 25-point leads in that series. The Grizzlies won.
One of them at home.
They won Game 5. That series was tied up 2-2 going into Game 5, which we just saw. And then the Grizzlies won Game 6 up in Minnesota.
Yes.
But they had to come back, it seemed like, every single time.
From major deficits.
From major deficits.
Yes.
And Minnesota collapsed. And to Brevin's point during the break, what's the main difference in that Minnesota team? Well, you know, I think they got structure with Rudy Gobert because he wasn't there at that time. It was Karl Anthony Towns. Now you got both of those guys to contend with. But you also have Mike Conley, an organizer.
The conductor.
A guy that can put them in the positions to not squander these leads and not, you know, just collapse like that. And then Anthony Edwards has become a superstar. He went from a rookie in that year, basically first, second year, to being
They didn't know what they had. They didn't know that, look, this is the guy you hit your wagon to rather than, you know.
Here's a ball on that real quick is with the Mike Conley situation is when Chris Finch went down with the knee injury, had to get the surgery, their head coach couldn't stand on the bench, has to sit behind. The one thing that Anthony Edwards said was he felt like they were going to be fine because they had Mike Conley, who was the ultimate extension of their coach and Chris Finch. They believe in him. They listen to him. Even with Finchy being there, it was still, if Mike says this, we're going with what Mike says. And so I always say the importance of the point guard. Phoenix Suns bounced really quick, and we talked about it, Mike, all year. I said they weren't going to win because they had no point guard. And tell me that Devin Booker stuff, he's not. Same thing I'd say with Desmond Bane for this team. You minimize what guys are real good at when you put them in that role because now that position means I got to try to get you. Where really what they're good at is go put that ball in the basket. And now while doing that, you make other plays. We live with that. But that's not the mindset. Mike gives the mindset.
And you know, you're watching Minnesota, man, and they're quickly becoming my second favorite team or my favorite team in the playoffs now because you see so many former Grizzlies, right? You see Mike Conley. And you know, Gasol got a championship when he left here with Toronto. Mike is in a position now to do that. Slow-mo, Kyle Anderson, you talked about that. And then E.T., you know, I mean, you look at a situation, you know, where on their coaching staff, they have a guy there that has been with the Grizzlies for a long time. And Elston Turner is a guy that's now with Minnesota. So there's some likable guys there, some guys that you root for there. And I just want to see them continue, but I do want to see Denver come back, though, and make it a series the rest of the
You want to see Denver
Steve Senior is there also from
that is
the
true.
front
Yes,
office.
Steve Senior is there.
He's in our front office. He's in their front office now.
Do you like Minnesota?
To win a championship?
Do you like Minnesota? Like
as a city?
No, as being like,
as
my
a
other
rooting
favorite
interest
team.
of who's left.
Yes, because I think this. I think that Minnesota can beat Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals. I think Minnesota is the anti for the Boston Celtics. I think they have the one area that I say with the Celtics that they lack is athleticism. They have Tatum, they have Brown. Outside of that, they lack athleticism, and it's the one thing that Minnesota has over everyone that is left, and that they can be physical and athletic and not drop off in skill to still be able to play.
And deep enough.
And deep.
Deep enough.
That's why I think, you know, as far as, you know, I was up there during we in Minnesota now, you know, for that quote and all that, and watching their fans kind of try to go crazy over their team. It's a lot different than it is here in FedEx Forum, folks. It's great here. That is kind of like, it's not like Oklahoma City, which I think is plastic.
That's the worst. Listen, no, but that's the worst.
You can say it.
No, I'm saying it's almost like they're like it's almost like it's Stepford wives.
They're Stepford fans.
Stepford fans. That's what it almost is like. That's what it's like.
And I wasn't the one to say that. I got to give all credits to my former teammate at Action News 5, Carrie Anderson.
That is a great way to put it. It's almost like you got to just tell you now to do it. It's not natural.
No.
It just doesn't look natural to them.
No, doesn't feel. And
it doesn't feel it.
Yeah, and so, you know, I think that's why they lost that series, because their crowd didn't know what to do. But I think
they're
the
there
Grizzlies
now,
are better.
though.
Yeah, they're there now.
And when you look at Oklahoma City and you look at Minnesota, and you say, okay, where are the Grizzlies now?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, you're just not going to just blink and get healthy and get right back in the middle of that.
No.
You got to earn your way back. So it's not going to be easy, man, because those teams are going to have that experience. One of those two teams is getting to the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
Yes.
Right. You know what I'm
Which
saying?
this group of Grizzlies has not been to yet.
So, yeah.
And the Grizzlies still have to make some additions also.
Yeah.
There's still some moves
Yeah.
that they have to make. This isn't just Des and Ja
and Jaren,
and Jaren come back and it's just, all right, you can beat, like, there's some other things
That's why I
still have
said
to go
on one of our previous shows, I think the question of the week, who's the most important in this song? I said King Kleiman, because they got to make the right decision on whoever it is that they bring in here. But I think the biggest thing for the Grizzlies, and it always comes back to the Grizzlies for me, is that they already have defined roles. Everybody on this team knows what it is that they have to do and who they are on this team. Yeah, Marcus Smart may be new, Luke Kennard's fairly new, but they know what it is that they're supposed to do.
We just talking about some supporting people. Listen, at the end of the day, we all know.
They got the dogs up front, and they all listen to Ja. They follow Ja's lead.
The ultimate player.
Yes.
That's why I say the Knicks will beat the Pacers ultimately, is because they have that guy. I think the Pacers have people who could be, like Halliburton could be that night, Siakam could be that night, Miles Turner could be that night. With the New York Knicks, you know who is that night.
Who is it?
And I think it's the same way with this Grizzlies team.
It's Brevin Knight.
We know, when it comes to the broadcast, you doggone right. That's it. On the broadcast, yes, he gonna bring it every night. But for this Grizzlies team, we know exactly who it is, and it's Ja Morant. Like, yes, Desmond Bane ascending, Jaren Jackson Jr. ascending, but at the end of the day, it's that guy that can do what the other people can't do.
Correct.
And for this team, that's Ja Morant. And so, yes, they will be right back in the mix of it because SGA is Oklahoma City. Ant-Man Edwards is
he's in Minnesota.
Ja Morant is here. Jalen Brunson is such and such. And so the teams that have those people will always have a chance. It's the supporting people that go around that are also important.
Yes, and we thank you for your support for watching this program here on Grind City Media. Of course, we'll be back on Thursday. We'll be coming up with more news about the draft lottery and all that. Tayshaun Prince is going to be up there representing Memphis. Let's thank our great crew here in studio, Brevin Knight, who is the king of clubs, king of hearts here today with the Grizzlies. He's all swole now, so I'm going to have to salute you when I see you. We're not going to get in a dark alley on a fight because I don't want to have to fight you. And, of course, the guru of Grind City Media himself, the great Michael Wallace, as my grandson likes to call him. It's always wonderful being here, and thank you for inviting me to be on this program.
Oh, no question, man.
This has just been fun, and we're going to have more fun as the summer goes on. Talk about the draft lottery next Thursday right here on Grizzbeat.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of Grizzbeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.